If you think you already know everything about what happened between Dylan Wang and Bai Lu, then pause right now and stay with me, because what unfolded behind those studio lights was far more intense than anyone expected, and by the end of this story, you may completely change how you see this trio forever. So make sure you stay until the last moment and decide for yourself who crossed the line and who was simply protecting their peace. The interview was supposed to be simple, calm, promotional, just another polished appearance to support a new project. Cameras were aligned perfectly. The host wore a bright professional smile. Fans filled the comment section with hearts even before the live session began. Everything looked controlled. Everything felt rehearsed. Bai Lu sat elegantly under the soft lighting, her expression gentle yet slightly guarded. Across from her sat Dylan Wang, composed, confident, leaning slightly back in his chair, as though he had already decided how the night would go. The chemistry between them was subtle but noticeable. Every glance carried weight. Every pause felt intentional. At first the questions were harmless. Career growth, upcoming dramas, personal development. Laughter floated lightly across the set, and fans watching online began commenting about how comfortable the atmosphere felt. But then the host casually mentioned Shen Yue. It was a simple question on the surface. Something about past collaborations and mutual respect. Bai Lu smiled politely and responded with grace. She mentioned Shen Yue briefly, speaking about professionalism and wishing her well. It should have ended there. But something shifted. Dylan Wang, who had been quietly observing, suddenly straightened in his seat. His jaw tightened. The warmth in his eyes cooled into something sharper, something unfiltered. The audience sensed it immediately, even before he spoke. "Focus on yourself," he said firmly, his voice cutting through the air in a way that startled even the host. There was no smile.
No place el ton.
Just a direct statement that landed heavily between them. The room froze. Bai Lu blinked once, clearly surprised. For a split second, the confident composure she always carried flickered. She had not expected that reaction. The host nervously tried to laugh it off, but Dylan did not follow the joke. He continued. "There is no need to keep mentioning her name in interviews," he added. "It only creates misunderstandings." The tension became visible. Even through the screen, fans watching live could feel it. Comments started flooding in. Why is he upset? Is there something we do not know? Did Bai Lu say something wrong? Bai Lu remained calm, but her expression grew thoughtful. She gently explained that she was only responding to a direct question and meant no harm. Her voice was steady, but the emotion underneath was undeniable. She spoke carefully, choosing each word, as though walking across fragile glass. Dylan exhaled slowly and leaned forward. The protective tone in his voice suggested something deeper than irritation. It sounded personal. It sounded like someone drawing a boundary. Sometimes, he said, people should move forward without dragging old names into new spaces. The statement sent shockwaves across social media within minutes. Clips were already being reposted. Fan pages began analyzing every facial expression, every pause, every breath. But what made the moment truly explosive was not the words alone. It was the silence that followed. For nearly 5 seconds, neither of them spoke. The studio lights suddenly felt too bright. The atmosphere too heavy. Bai Lu looked at Dylan with an unreadable gaze, not anger, not sadness, but something more complex. Then she quietly said, "I was only being respectful." That single sentence shifted everything. It was not defensive. It was not confrontational. It was honest. And honesty sometimes cuts deeper than raised voices. The host quickly redirected the conversation, but the emotional undercurrent remained. Dylan softened slightly, yet the intensity lingered in his posture. Bai Lu regained her composure, but viewers noticed she spoke less for the remainder of the interview. Within hours, the clip went viral. Some fans defended Dylan, saying he was protecting boundaries and preventing unnecessary comparisons. Others criticized him, arguing that Bai Lu had done nothing wrong and deserved respect. Shen Yue fans entered the conversation as well, creating a storm of divided opinions. Was this jealousy? Was it frustration? Was it something unresolved from the past? Behind the scenes, insiders claimed the exchange was not planned. It was raw. It was real. It was a moment where emotions surfaced without filters. The next day, headlines exploded across entertainment platforms. Analysts replayed the clip frame by frame. Body language experts weighed in discussing eye contact, tone shifts, and subtle hand movements. The story became more than a single sentence. It became a symbol of tension in a world where public images are carefully managed. Meanwhile, Bai Lu remained silent on her personal accounts.
No clarification.
No defense. Just quiet strength. Dylan also avoided further comment, but his close associates hinted that he felt constant comparisons were unfair and emotionally exhausting. The public was left to interpret the silence. Days later, a new interview surfaced, where Bai Lu was asked about the viral moment. This time she responded with calm confidence, saying that misunderstandings can grow when emotions speak louder than intentions. Her words were measured but powerful.
She did not attack.
She did not blame. She simply expressed growth. Fans began reconsidering their initial reactions. Perhaps what they witnessed was not hostility, but vulnerability. Perhaps the raised voice was not anger, but frustration built over time. In the world of fame, every word is magnified. Every reaction becomes a headline. Every pause becomes speculation. But beneath the spotlight are human beings navigating pressure, expectations, and millions of opinions. The incident between Dylan Wang and Bai Lu became a defining chapter in their public narrative. Not because of scandal, but because it revealed how thin the line can be between protection and pride, between honesty and heat. And now the question remains. Was Dylan defending boundaries, or did he let emotion overpower professionalism? Was Bai Lu unfairly caught in a storm, or was she unknowingly reopening sensitive wounds? Only they truly know. But what is undeniable is this. One sentence changed everything. If you believe moments like this reveal the truth behind celebrity relationships, then make sure you stay connected, because sometimes the smallest exchange uncovers the deepest story, and the next chapter may be even more surprising than the last. Tell me your honest opinion. Was Dylan right to speak up, or should he have handled it differently? The morning after the interview felt heavier than anyone expected. What had started as a single sharp sentence was now echoing across every platform, replayed in slow motion, dissected by fan pages, debated in comment sections that refused to sleep. The clip of Dylan Wang leaning forward and saying "focus on yourself" had crossed borders overnight. Edits were circulating with dramatic music, zoomed expressions, paused frames that tried to decode hidden emotions. But what truly shook everyone was what happened behind the cameras after the lights dimmed. According to insiders present that night, the tension did not disappear when the host announced a break. The applause faded, the audience cleared out, but the silence between Dylan Wang and Bai Lu lingered in the studio like unfinished business. Crew members pretended to adjust equipment just to avoid walking directly between them. Bai Lu stood first. She did not look angry. She did not look defeated. She looked thoughtful, almost as if she was replaying the moment in her mind and trying to understand what had shifted. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm. "I answered a question," she said softly. "I did not mean to cause a problem." Dylan ran a hand through his hair and looked away before responding. "It is not about the question," he replied. "It is about how people twist things. Every name becomes a headline." There it was. Not rage. Not jealousy. Fatigue. The pressure of constant comparisons. The weight of every shared history being dragged into every new chapter. In that private moment, the raised voice from earlier seemed less explosive and more like something that had been building quietly for a long time. Bai Lu listened carefully. She did not interrupt. And when she finally answered, her words were measured. "We cannot control what people twist," she said. "We can only control how we carry ourselves." That sentence changed the energy between them. Dylan looked at her fully this time. The intensity softened. For the first time since the interview began, there was no audience, no trending hashtags, no millions of eyes analyzing their breathing patterns. Just two professionals navigating a storm they did not entirely create. Meanwhile, online, the situation escalated. Fan groups began taking sides aggressively. Some accused Dylan of disrespect. Others insisted he was setting healthy boundaries. Shen Yue supporters resurfaced old clips and interviews, comparing tones, analyzing timelines, building narratives that grew more dramatic with every repost. And then something unexpected happened. Shen Yue herself posted a simple message about focusing on work and positivity. No names.
No references.
But the timing was impossible to ignore. Within minutes, fans interpreted it as a subtle response. The triangle that everyone thought was cooling down suddenly felt active again. News outlets framed it as rivalry. Bloggers labeled it as hidden tension. Reaction channels gained thousands of subscribers overnight just by replaying the clip and adding speculation. Yet in the middle of the chaos, Bai Lu made a quiet move. 2 days later, during a separate appearance, she was asked directly if there was conflict. She smiled gently and answered that misunderstandings happen when emotions are high, but respect remains important. She did not criticize Dylan. She did not mention Shen Yue. She kept it centered on growth. That calm response began shifting public opinion. Some viewers rewatched the original interview and noticed something new. Dylan's tone, while sharp, carried frustration more than hostility. Bai Lu's response carried steadiness rather than hurt. What at first looked like a clash now appeared more layered, more human. Behind the scenes, sources claimed Dylan reached out privately to clarify that his reaction was never meant to silence her, but to prevent unnecessary comparisons from spiraling again. Whether that conversation was emotional or brief remains unknown, but those close to them say the tension eased. Still, the internet does not forget quickly. Every new event they attend is now watched closely. Every shared stage becomes a potential headline. The industry has a way of magnifying even the smallest glance into a storyline. But perhaps the most surprising outcome of this entire controversy is this. It revealed vulnerability. Not the polished vulnerability crafted for cameras, but the unscripted kind that slips out when someone is tired of being misunderstood. It showed how fame can turn ordinary conversations into battlegrounds. It showed how a single sentence can ignite millions of opinions. And now fans are left wondering, will Dylan and Bai Lu address the moment together publicly? Will Shen Yue ever directly comment? Or will this remain one of those chapters that quietly reshapes relationships behind closed doors? One thing is certain. The interview may have ended, but the story did not. Because sometimes the real drama does not happen when someone raises their voice. It happens in the quiet aftermath, when pride softens, when conversations continue away from cameras, and when people choose whether to let tension divide them or push them toward deeper understanding. And as the world keeps watching, the next move from any of them could redefine everything once again.